Breaking news from the Middle East. A major escalation just happened. We're following a developing situation that could reshape the entire Middle East conflict. Just hours ago, Iran launched a devastating series of drone and missile attacks targeting Kuwait International Airport, one of the busiest aviation hubs in the Persian Gulf region. This is not a drill. This is happening right now. Let me break down exactly what occurred and why this matters for global security. The attack, what we know. On Wednesday, Iranian forces unleashed multiple hostile drones directly at the passenger terminal building of Kuwait International Airport. According to the Defense Ministry spokesperson, this wasn't a minor incident. We're talking about severe material damage to critical airport infrastructure. The attack resulted in significant damage to the building and caused injuries to multiple individuals on the ground. The consequences were immediate and severe. Air traffic operations have been completely suspended. All arriving flights have been diverted to alternative airports across the region. Think about that for a second. One of the Gulf's major transportation hubs is now offline. This affects thousands of travelers, billions in commerce, and demonstrates Iran's willingness to strike civilian infrastructure. Debris was burning across the suburbs of Kuwait City. Videos and images showed the scale of the destruction. This wasn't a symbolic gesture. This was a direct military strike on a crucial piece of civilian infrastructure. Why is this happening? Here's where it gets complicated. This attack didn't happen in a vacuum. There's been an escalating pattern of hostile activity in the region over recent days. Both Bahrain and Kuwait have reported multiple missile and drone attacks in recent weeks. The U.S. Central Command has publicly stated they've intercepted many of these attacks, but obviously not all of them got through this time. Iran has taken direct responsibility for these attacks. They're not hiding or denying it. Instead, they're framing it as retaliation. According to Iranian officials, these strikes were launched in direct response to a U.S. attack on an oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical shipping lanes, where roughly 1/3 of all seaborne traded oil passes through. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard released a statement that carried an unmistakably defiant tone. They said, and I quote, "We had previously warned that in case of aggression, the response would be different and more severe, and we acted accordingly." This is essentially Iran saying, we warned you, and now you're seeing what we're capable of. The diplomatic breakdown. What makes this even more concerning is the timing. Two semi-official Iranian news agencies reported that negotiations between Washington and Tehran had reached a complete impasse on Tuesday, just one day before these attacks. The talks had stalled, communication had broken down. Now the Trump administration is pushing back on these reports. Trump himself posted on Truth Social that these claims are, quote, false and erroneous. He's insisting that negotiations didn't collapse. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio went before Congress and gave a somewhat cryptic statement about the situation. He said, and this is important, "We are in talks," and I say talks because talks with Iran are not like talks with Switzerland, okay? They're very different. They require the use of intermediaries, unfortunately. But there is the prospect before us, which could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen next week. Translate that. Yes, we're talking to Iran, but it's complicated. We need go-betweens, and there's no timeline. That's diplomatic speak for we don't know what's going to happen. The ceasefire demand. Iran has now added a new condition to any negotiations. They're insisting that a ceasefire must be enforced in Lebanon before they'll continue talking. This is a critical detail because it links the Iran-U.S. conflict directly to the broader Middle East crisis. The United States has refused this demand. The U.S. position is clear. The fighting in Lebanon is a separate issue from Iran war talks. They don't want to negotiate with a gun to their head, essentially. Why this matters. Let's be absolutely clear about what we're witnessing. This is an escalation. We have one, direct Iranian military strikes on civilian infrastructure in a U.S. allied nation. 2. Breakdown of diplomatic communications. 3. Iran adding new preconditions to negotiations. 4. The U.S. refusing to link separate conflicts. 5. A pattern of increasing attacks over recent days. This is a dangerous spiral. When military strikes are happening faster than diplomatic solutions can be found, history shows us that things tend to get worse, not better. The regional impact. Kuwait is a crucial U.S. ally in the Gulf. It hosts U.S. military forces. It's a major oil producer. An attack on Kuwait International Airport is an attack on the economic lifeline of the entire region. The global oil market is watching this closely. Energy prices could spike. Insurance costs for shipping through the Strait of Hormuz will increase. This has worldwide economic implications. The broader context. We need to understand this within the larger Middle East situation. Israel is striking targets in the region. The U.S. is conducting military operations. Iran is responding. Hezbollah is involved in Lebanon. The Houthis are attacking shipping. Yemen is a proxy battleground. Syria is unstable. This isn't just about Iran and the U.S. It's about a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and competing interests across the entire Middle East. What happens next? That's the million-dollar question. Will the U.S. respond militarily? Will there be a counterstrike? Will diplomacy somehow pull back from the brink? Will Iran launch more attacks? Historically, when you have this pattern, military strikes followed by diplomatic breakdown, the next step is usually another military response. But there's always the possibility that cooler heads prevail and both sides step back from the edge. The next 48 to 72 hours are critical. If we see another major attack or another U.S. military response, we could be looking at a full-scale conflict. If both sides use this moment to reset negotiations, there's still a path forward. The bottom line, Iran has demonstrated it's willing to strike civilian infrastructure in U.S. allied nations. The U.S. is insisting it's still open to talks, but those talks appear to be stalling. Iran is adding new conditions. The military to diplomatic ratio is shifting dangerously toward military action. This situation is developing rapidly. The consequences could be felt around the world, from oil prices to global security to the stability of one of the world's most important regions. We'll be monitoring this situation closely and bringing you updates as this story develops. This is a critical moment in Middle East geopolitics, and the decisions made in the coming days could have repercussions for years to come. Stay informed, stay alert, and remember, in times like these, understanding what's actually happening is more important than ever.